Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a chess miniature to share with you from the Champions Chess Tour Chess.com Classic 2025. This is game 1 from the round of 16. On the white end, Magnus Carlsen playing against Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Okay, this one here, only a 20 mover, and the opening we work with is a Catalan. Now, with this capture on c4, we work with majorities now. Carlsen with the central majority, Duda here with the queenside majority. The central majority here eventually will roll. An AlphaZero pawn will be established eventually in this game. First, there's a check, same side's castle's game ahead, knight c6, and from here we have a3. If Carlsen expands with his center, it's faulty, knight is swiped, and you drop a pawn. So first we have this question to the bishop, trying to release the pressure on the knight before committing to e4. What is the bishop going to do? Well, it falls back in this game to e7. If bishop for knight, the game is going to take, we're going to move in a totally different direction, really, playing with that imbalance and unopposed dark square bishop. Here's something I questioned. If the bishop falls back to a5 here, keeping the pressure on the knight, still holding up this idea of e4. Here's how you can respond. One response here is queen a4, and that would now target c4 directly with the bishop on a5 rather than b4. And another is to go in for bishop g5, the capture on f6, and then knight to e4. At the end of such a line, it may be that this bishop is sort of not so well positioned, staring off into space, piece. It sort of misses its chance to swipe a piece here on c3. All right, how this one is played, the bishop anticipates any, black here anticipates any pin here on the knight. Bishop e7 it is. Now the center rolls. Queenside majority rolls here for Duda with a6. And the follow-up from here, black goes with b5. Now, knight a5 is considered top. Right next to knight to a5, second rate, it likes this e5 move. And this is the one I want to draw some attention to at this moment here. I want to pay some attention to this middle game because what we're approaching is a position where black has a very narrow path to maintain equality. e5 is interesting. Now, there's a couple moves to consider here. Three moves, really. d5 and both captures here on e5. Let me first start with the captures on e5 to give you a feel for how play would develop. If you start with knight captures on e5, we'll have the knight exchange, a queen exchange, and then there's knight to g4 targeting this pawn, and targeting f2. Bishop c5 is in the air. Also, if white responds to e5 here first with the pawn capture once more, we would see a queen exchange, and again this idea to drop the knight into g4. Similar idea to take on e5, as well as bishop c5, converging on f2. Here's the main issue with the move e5. This is what would keep, really, black from playing e5, and that is this response d5. But again, this is how the computer wants to play it, one of the top moves. It says be okay, in other words, giving up this big center pawn and playing from here bishop to d6. So you should really need to have, you really need to do your homework on such a line, because white now has a 2-0 majority in the center, but black does have very active pieces, a lead in development, and we might say with such a line, this is sort of capitalizing on a deficiency behind Carlsen's h4. This bishop here on g4 cannot be questioned. It's a stable piece for at least a move, applying some pressure to f3. More pressure on the center, knight b3 moves in the air. It calls this close to minus 0.3. So much different direction the game would go, certainly, with the e5 break. But again, approaching a position where there's a narrow path to maintain equality for black. The move in this game, b5, now comes e5, knight d5, knight g5. Carlsen knows that this knight can be kicked. That's exactly how it plays out here with h6. And now it falls back to h3. This was my main takeaway with this game. Just this one little fancy maneuver with the knight. Okay, first h4, but this maneuver here with the knight just sidelined for the moment. Just get out of the way. That's sort of what white is saying here. Get off of that f3 square. My queen wants to have options over here on the king side, and I want to keep this square here, e4, opened for my knight or bishop. So this is maybe a reason why the knight is not dropping into e4 here. Clears the way for this queen knight to drift towards the king side. There's a lot of energy being built up by the white pieces. They're being directed towards this black king. How does black play from here? Knight a5. From here we have queen g4. Computer says even better is queen h5 straight away. Okay, queen g4 carries a threat. Bishop captures h6. Only move now for black. He does find it. King h8 gets out of the pin. Here's something I questioned, the stability of this queen. Could she be challenged with the move f5? If f5 is there, there's queen g6, and she can't be challenged with queen e8 here. There's still a threat. Bishop captures h6, so probably not a good idea to invite the queen even deeper into your territory and in a spot where she can't be challenged. The issue with queen e8 here, you exchange queens and then chop away on d5. In the end, there would be a big fork. So f5, not the way. King h8 is best. Queen h5 only now, so this is the position he sort of had in mind here. He wants to be able to now chop away on h6, and in the end, this will now hit with check. Let me throw this position to you as a pop quiz. How would you respond here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, a narrow path to maintain equality. Black does not spot it. Black is in an only move situation. He ends up playing king g8 here, and we see a follow-up sacrifice on h6. Now, trying to defend against this sacrifice with king h7, not stable. It'll be questioned with bishop to e4. The only move here for black to just spot this one, queen e8. Queen e8 is prepared to meet the sacrifice or the capture here on h6 with f7, specifically to f6. You don't have your option between these two. I'll touch on the difference shortly. f7 to f6 is the drawing way, the top way. This would lead to a queen exchange. The bishop can now be rescued here, falling back to e3 or d2. A move that is not available to white in this position here is knight captures knight, and then bishop captures pawn, targeting this rook, because in the end, black has the following move, bishop captures knight. That there is a difference between f6 and f5. There's pawn is on f5 here. This would be a decisive approach by white. Let me show you. Let me actually map that out, show you what it looks like if you would try f5 in this position, queen exchange, knight exchange, bishop takes. It runs just a hair deeper. In response to c6 here, white would have only one move here, bishop to d2, targeting the knight and undermining the support of c6. This is ready to land with a big fork. So this here, the drawing resource, top reply here, not spotted, queen to e8. It's king g8 in this game. Now we see the sacrifice on h6. This is decisive for white, follow up knight exchange, bishop exchange, and after just one more move, knight f4, black resigns. These two pieces, with the assistance of this AlphaZero pawn, are enough to win from here. Right around the corner for white is knight h5 and queen g7 mate. From here, black is either going to lose the king or queen. Let's see what this looks like. So if black tries to cover that g7 square, not going to work out because f6 is now vulnerable. Knight f6 check is there, and you have to give up the queen. There we go. Queen versus two minors. Decisive for white. And also, if black, let's say, tries to advance with the f-pawn, in this case, it doesn't matter, 1 or 2. In both cases, you can respond with knight e6. And there you go. The queen is hit, and once more, queen g7 is supported for mate. The king or queen will be lost. So, only a 20 mover here, knight to f4, out of this Catalan, very dangerous e5 pawn, AlphaZero pawn in this one. What are your thoughts with this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.